Hi everyone, and thank you so much for spending the next hour in my sketchbook with me. My name is Irene and I'm an art teacher and illustrator from the Netherlands and I'm based in the UK. My last video was about me spending an hour in my sketchbook with you guys and painting a landscape, and I took one of my photos from my travels that I wanted to paint. And today I'm taking it a little bit closer to home and I'm painting a scene from Borough Market. Market in London. If you've never been to Borough Market, I really recommend it. It is a really bustling and vibrant market in central London, just close to London Bridge, and it's just the most wonderful place. Really old stalls with lots of beautiful fresh vegetables, and the atmosphere in Borough Market is just absolutely wonderful. It has this really old English vibe. When I first moved to England, I lived really close to Borough Market and I used to spend a lot of time there, and it's a place that holds a lot of dear memories for me. Both for walking through there during the day as well as spending some evenings there in some pubs and restaurants. Yeah, it's just the most wonderful place, so I decided to paint it today. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, you might know that I am a full-time illustrator and I am now able to make a living from my art, and I've been doing so for the last few years. And my life exists out of a lot of different activities. And I recently started thinking about focusing my activities more. Maybe put some of the hats that I'm wearing aside a little bit and focusing a bit more on the ones that bring me most joy. And also make a bit more time for my own personal art. I have illustrated a number of children's books, which I absolutely loved, but I also run courses, workshops, classes. I make live illustrations at events. I have illustrated designs for packaging and products, for, well, as I said, children's books, for some websites, for some editorials. And even though I love doing all these different things, I feel that perhaps I should focus a little bit more. So this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. And I really want to find out what my illustration niche is, where my art fits in best, what do I get the most joy out of, and then spend a bit more time focusing on a specific area. And by running Makings and Musings, there's so many other things that are part of it as well, including my newsletter, building my online community, doing the marketing, social media, filming for YouTube. I am a skillshare teacher. There's so many different components of my work as an artist that I have to combine and that I have to focus on. So I'm not 100% sure which of these areas I'm going to keep, but there's a few things that jump out to me that I absolutely love doing and that I'm definitely going to carry on. And I'm really curious to hear from all of you, if you are illustrators as well or full-time artists. How did you decide what your niche or expertise sort of area of choice was? If you have one. And maybe you're on the same path as me and still searching for it. But something that I definitely wanted to do, and that is high on my priority list, is just making time to enjoy art just for play. No commission, no expectation of creating something that's perfect. Just playing with paint and colors and having, doing it for what I find most fun. So this is what I've been doing in my YouTube videos. This is a really good place to share that journey of making my art for fun. I feel that for YouTube I can experiment with different materials and I can show you different sides of my artwork a little bit more than on other social media channels. I think the YouTube algorithm really values every post looking sort of the same, really consistent color and style, but I feel that YouTube gives you a bit more freedom to show different sides of yourself. So this is the place where I'm going to do so. And I hope you are in for the ride. I hope you enjoy this as well. Let me know, I'm curious to hear. So this video is a landscape, but it's very much a city scene. When I think of landscapes, I usually think of nature, but actually I feel that the cityscapes are also landscapes in a way. I'm using gouache for this, and I really want to create another landscape picture with really vibrant colors and just really give my own twist to it. So the picture does not have to be photorealistic. I want it to have the right vibe, the right, the emotion that I feel when I think of Borough Market, the colors and the setting, the tone of what that place means to me. But it's okay if the colors are a little bit different from what they are in reality. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really just experimenting with my paint. I'm putting down some layers first, see if I'm happy with the colors, and because this is gouache, I can always paint over them. Gouache is quite opaque and it allows you to paint different colors over your original layers. As long as you don't use too much water and reactivate the paint underneath. I sort of touched upon this already, that I use different channels of social media for different purposes. And at the moment YouTube is my favorite because I love how I can spend a little bit more time and energy in each video, really share my thoughts and insights on what I'm doing, and that people might still enjoy that in a little while. I struggle with Instagram a little bit sometimes because it's so fast. Everything you post is sort of gone in a few hours. It sometimes feels a little bit like what you make loses its value very fast. And I know that's not the case, and I know we're not creating what we're creating to please the algorithm gods. But at the same time, it is nice to put a bit more value on what you make, and from a social media aspect as well, especially if you put a lot of effort into creating something, editing videos, things like that. It is nice that it is, value, that it keeps its value for a little bit longer, which I really feel is the case with YouTube. So I'm still quite new on this YouTube journey, but I am really enjoying it. I really started to think about urban sketching again, and I'm going to set up an urban sketching group close to home, just for free, just for people to get together and to draw. And I'm doing this with someone else, so once all the information is available, it's going to be up on my website. Being an artist can sometimes be a little bit of a lonely job, and I don't usually feel lonely. I'm really happy to work by myself and focus on my paintings and just be a little bit in my own world for most of the day. But it's also really lovely to get together with some other people who love painting or drawing and just create together and have a bit of that social aspects of imaginary colleagues around you, or to work on some projects with other people and inspire some ideas in each other and things like that. And that's something that I really miss sometimes. So if there's an opportunity to create with a group of people, I usually take it. And I absolutely love sketching sort of from life, sitting somewhere and sketching things I see around me. I really love to do more of that as well, and especially as the area where I live has so many beautiful old historic buildings. It's really wonderful to draw. So that's something that I love doing and that I do regularly as well. So hopefully more in groups of people as well instead of by myself. When you paint outside, there's often people who come and ask you and check what you're doing, and they're curious, and I totally understand that. And I absolutely don't mind if people want to see what I'm making, as yeah, I understand. If I see someone paint, I'm also curious to see what they're making. And people's reactions are usually really positive, and if they don't like it, I don't think they would tell you anyway. Yeah, usually people find it interesting that you are painting outside, and they're curious to hear if you're a full-time artist or not. And what usually people tell me is that they would really like to do some painting as well, but they're a little bit nervous to try it. I would really recommend everyone to just try it out, go sit somewhere outside, take a sketchbook and a pen. You don't have to need any fancy materials, just a normal ballpoint pen or a fine liner works absolutely great, or a normal pencil. And just draw what you see, and it doesn't have to be realistic, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It's just all about just noticing what you see around you and putting it onto paper. And it's a different way of looking at the world around you. So I always really recommend it. I think it's a really great way to play and enjoying sitting somewhere. In my next video, I think I'll show my face a little bit more. Maybe I'll do a studio tour. I recently painted all the walls in my studio and looking very nice now. Got a new desk, a standing desk, which is really lovely. It makes a huge difference to my back aches to be able to stand up work up standing sometimes. Part of this painting today I made standing up, a standing desk. I love it, it's absolutely great. And, maybe my office is ready for a little studio tour. My biggest problem though is that my office tends to be quite messy. I have lots of art materials, and also knitting materials, macrame materials, lots of different books and papers and things lying around. And I always feel that if I would film lots of my studio, I would need to tidy up first. Which is not necessarily true, because I think having a little bit of realism in what the world of an artist looks like is also important. But if you invite people in your home, you want it to be a little bit tidy. So maybe if I get the chance to tidy up, I will film an art studio tour next time. The building that I am painting at the moment has some lettering on it. There's got a few signs with the words Borough Market on it on both sides of the building. And I am not very good at hand lettering. It's one of the skills that I'm really not very good at. And I am going to try it anyway. And I know that putting in letters into my painting might really ruin it. I do think it would really put the picture into the right place. There's all these old beautiful signs on the walls in Borough Market, so I feel like to actually do it justice I should try and put a sign in. I'm first adding in the letters in some pencil and then planning to paint over it if I'm happy with the placing. And something that is quite tricky in this picture is that the letters need to fit in that box that I've already created. I do some live illustrations sometimes, some sketchnoting. And when you sketchnote, I always recommend putting your words first and then putting the box around it so you know that it fits. But today I did not do that. I already had this box on the side of the building and I needed to have my letters fit in. And well, I'm actually quite happy with how it came out. The trick is to really keep it straight, so put a little line down first. A little tracing line to make sure all your letters are the same size. It is quite a tricky thing. I also decided I wanted my picture to be a bit more vibrant, so I'm going in with some really bright orange. I love the combination of pink and orange. I'm going in with some really bright orange. I'm really trying to create some visual contrast, something a bit exciting in the picture. Sometimes when you're halfway painting, it's good to remind yourself that you're creating this for fun, especially if it's not for commission and anything. It's okay to experiment a little bit. Try out some different colors, different textures, be a little bit bold, a little bit brave. That's absolutely fine. This house was at number 15. I actually think that the particular building was in one of the Harry Potter films. I think it is the Leaky Cauldron in one of the maybe film 4. I'm not quite sure. So I wanted these lines to be a bit sharper. I'm really enjoying how this picture is coming together. I did struggle a little bit because I have so many pictures of Borough Market where the market is on and it's really busy and bustling and lots of vendors. But I wanted to paint something without people for a change. I'm still also filling up a sketchbook where I practice my people drawing skills. I'm doing so many different things at the same time. Not everything I show on camera or on social media. I'm filling up a sketchbook where I practice my people drawing skills. I have a sketchbook where I practice drawing animals. I have this sketchbook that I'm using for painting and for slightly more finished pieces. I work lots on loose paper. I have lots of scrap papers and bits and pieces where I paint on and draw on. More than in my sketchbooks, I would say. I'm not very consistent with my style. I think each of these sketchbooks has a different purpose and a different style to it. But I really love practicing different things. I want to keep doing that. I'm not going to be a portrait artist, this is not my calling. But I do love practicing portraits. Slowly and steadily, the pictures coming together. The problem when you're painting with traditional mediums is that you always need to have good light. And luckily in the summer, the light is really great. We have lots of sunlight so late in the day. In the winter, it's much harder to paint. Digital mediums, they don't really hinder you in that way. You can always do it. It doesn't matter if it's night or daytime or winter or summer. But at the moment, it is late in the spring and our days are really lovely and long. The sun doesn't go down till maybe 9 o'clock in the evening or something, so we have really lovely long days and plenty of time to paint. These are glass windows that have a bit of reflection in them, and the sky in reality was much darker than what I have in my picture. I like to keep it really bright. I want to create a little bit of depth and color into those glass windows. Adding in a little bit of light blue by adding some white to my paints. Mixing it up a little bit. I'm keeping my illustration fairly flat. I do like to play around with the gouache together. I'm a huge fan of painting in gouache, and gouache is such a fun medium. Really layer the paint. I like it much better than painting with acrylics. Acrylic paint is a little bit harsh sometimes. and gouache with a natural chalky feel. I find it really enjoyable. I really want to start experimenting with oils more. I've not really found the time to do that amongst all the other things that I'm doing that I need to simplify already. Sometimes you wonder who puts all these rules onto you. I think simplifying things means that I can make time for the things that are really important to me. So it's something that I need to try and do at least a little bit. I used to work in the city in London. The city is an area of London where all the banks and the financial institutions are, and I used to work in that area. And every morning I used to walk through Borough Market on my way to work, and most days there was no market on, so often it was completely empty and quiet, which is the time that most people don't enter the market. It is a very touristic area. The market itself is a bit of a touristic hotspot, and the most touristic moments are when the market is on, of course. But for me, it was really lovely to walk through the market on a regular basis when it was really quiet, or when the stalls were just being set up, when they were just opening up for the day to come, but before any of the tourists were there. You do see so much more of an area when you are able to visit it after closing time or before opening. It always made me feel quite special to walk around there and just be on my way to work. It's a place in London that holds lots of good memories for me. So I slowly start to add a bit more detail to the picture. This heart pink in the letters. I like the paint feel of the lettering, so I don't want to keep it in pencil. I'm going over my pencil lines with this small brush to add in the letters. It's okay if it's a little bit wonky, but I made a sketch to make sure that at least my words fit into the box. I think I have space. I'm already thinking of what area I'm going to paint next. I want to do another landscape. I'm also working on some other pieces of art, but for this sketchbook I'm thinking of doing another landscape. Something that is a lot of fun is a website called MapCrunch, if you've never heard of it. So if you find it hard to find your own reference pictures, I would recommend having a look on there. It's not necessarily about references, but more about getting ideas. So it puts you randomly on a location on the map in Google Maps. So you could use Google Maps to just have a look around yourself, to get some ideas about what to paint or what areas to paint from. But MapCrunch just puts you there randomly, so you might end up in a desert in Morocco, or in a town in Tunisia, or in a village in Australia. Like, anything is possible. That suddenly makes you realize that there's so many beautiful places in the world that are fun to paint. And I'm really fortunate because I have traveled quite a lot in my life, and I have a lot of photos from different places where I've traveled to that I would all love to paint. And painting something from your own memories is absolutely wonderful. But naturally, not everyone is able to travel. So MapCrunch is a really great way of getting some ideas of places to paint or to draw. And you have to have a little look around, and you can use those places like directly from there as reference pictures as well. It's not literally not very sharp because it's all just Google Maps, but it's good enough to get ideas into. It's almost like you're there a little bit if you're not able to leave your house. So it's something that I use sometimes to find interesting buildings to look at, or to add some pictures. I know that a lot of people paint scenes from their favorite films or from TV shows, and it's something that I've never done. But it's definitely something that I would consider if I'm struggling for something to think of to paint. I don't struggle with things to paint very often. I usually have a whole list of things that I want to start painting my drawing. But I think painting things from films is a really good idea as well. So many beautiful scenes in films usually that there's so much beauty to be found there. So you might film and ideas, things to fill your sketchbook with at some point. So. Just to get a little bit more detail. I love this stage where you can just play around, see what your picture needs. Making it up at the moment, not even looking at the photo or anything, just my own artwork and what I think it needs today. I think it feels relatively urban, like part of the city, and not too countryside-like. Hopefully the glass roof reads as glass. And I decided to make my colors even a bit more vibrant. You can always add extra layers of gouache over gouache, so a bit more of this hard pink, which is one of my favorite colors at the moment. See, I'm also using a really small brush, or quite a fine brush, so I can fill in these little gaps without accidentally painting over areas that I painted before. You do really need to adjust your brush to the task that you have at hand. So sometimes you really do need a small brush. I love using a large brush, especially when I start painting. It gives me a bit more freedom and it loosens up my pictures. You sort of automatically have to be a little bit more, let go of a little bit of control if you paint with a large brush. There's definitely times and place for using a small brush and add more details. I decided to add some more of these bricks to the painting. I wasn't 100% sure about it, so it took me a little moment to decide if I was going to do it or not, but I think adding a little bit more of texture to this wall was a lot of fun. You can see my paint is slowly running out on my brush, so the bricks are getting lighter and lighter naturally, and I actually thought that was a really fun effect that I enjoyed. Some shadows around that sign. Painting bricks usually works best if you add in a few here and there instead of trying to do an entire wall. I could have stopped a little bit earlier here as well, but I was really enjoying it. The bricks, if you want to make a brick wall, you don't have to add that much detail that every single brick in the wall is being painted. It works really well to just add in a few. Some black details here and there. I will add a little bit of color pencil into this painting at the end. Not that much. Sometimes I use lots of color pencil, but in this picture I didn't really need much. So only a tiny bit. I'm going to put a little bit of music on and just let you watch this color pencil part and the tape peel. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sort of thinking of making this into a postcard. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. It's a little print. I can make it too large because the print in itself is quite small. Let me know if you'd like to see this as a print. I could add it to my website. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all at the next video. Bye bye!